here at the Sabo Dam in Ilocos Norte on the island of Luzon in the Philippines. So if you don't know, Luzon is the northernmost island in the Philippines. The next country north of Luzon is Taiwan. And we are in the northern part of the island. The whole center of Luzon, basically up and down the island, is mountainous. And I am in the province called Ilocos Norte. And we're coming up to the dam now. I have been an avid hiker my whole life, whitewater kayaker, skier. I love the outdoors and I love a good challenge. Now this hike, I've talked to some locals about it, and yes, some local fishermen, and I think from seeing some guys go up here, guys who hunt certain kinds of reptiles, maybe legal or illegally, I'm not sure. I saw a guy taking what looked like a big iguana type lizard out of here, tie it up. I think they're probably selling it on the black market. As you probably know, the Philippines is not a wealthy country, so whatever they could do here for money, they do. But I'm basically heading up above the dam, upriver, and I'm going to see how far I could get with a day pack with, a bottle of water, a couple pints of water, a couple quarts of water, and, a day's worth of food, basically, or a half a day's worth of food. I only have a half a day, but if it works out, this is kind of my scout out for this hike. I'm going to go up again maybe and spend the night up here at some point. This is only about a 20-minute drive from where I used to live in Dingras, and I'm moving back to in the fall into a town called Salsana. This is actually right out of Salsana. If you guys watch my other video, I'll pin it here. It's kayaking the other river that meets this river downstream a little ways before they both go into the Padson River, which is the main river heading out to the ocean, where it meets the ocean at Loag City in the Philippines, which is the major city in Ilocos Norte. Not a very big city, but it's a nice little city in the Philippines. A nice place to visit if you want to get up to the mountains here and do the kind of mountain sports like hiking, kayaking, rafting, swimming in the rivers, that kind of thing. And there you can see the dam. I'm not really sure what the purpose of this dam is. I assume it's flood control. That's what most dams here are for, but there's a lot of ag downstream, so it must be for agriculture, but it's not a huge impoundment. I don't know if it was a pretty big impoundment and it filled with sediment on the upstream side, because you could just walk across the river bank, walk across the river from the bottom once you get above the dam. Like I said, I've been hiking my whole life. I've hiked volcanoes in Chile. I've skied volcanoes in Washington State. A volcano named Hinman I skied. I've hiked other volcanoes, Glacier in Washington State. I used to live in Washington. I've hiked several 14ers. Those are 14,000 foot peaks in Colorado. The locals just call them 14ers. There's 52 of them, I believe, in Colorado. I've probably hiked about 10 of them. And then I've hiked a bunch of peaks there that are just under 14. But there's the dam. So I'm hiking up around the dam now. hiking isn't really about getting away from life for me. It's about just reminding me how simple life can be and just putting one foot in front of the other. A nice day of hiking will just, bring all my thoughts together, regroup. It's also a challenge, especially as I get older. I always, sometimes before I hike a 14er, even when I was in my 20s and 30s hiking 14ers, I would be, you'd always doubt, there'd always be doubt before you go up it. Am I going to make it to the top? Am I going to have a heart attack going up? These are just the things that you don't dwell on, but they passively go through your head. Now, this hike wasn't a really hard hike. It was just, it wasn't a hard hike. There wasn't a ton of elevation gain, but there was no trail, so I had to keep fording back and forth across the river, which made it kind of difficult. That would be much harder in the western United States where the rivers are freezing cold. This river was pretty warm, but this day was very windy, as you'll see from the footage. Right here I'm just deciding where I'm gonna cross the river. Like I said, there's no trail up here, so you just kind of have to make your own trail. That's what made the hike a little bit difficult, is all those cobblestones you see there in the middle of the river. You basically had to hike on those most of the time, and that's loose cobblestones is not ideal for hiking. The river was a beautiful greenish blue color. The river was a beautiful greenish blue color. The water was pretty warm and crystal clear and very clean. The views were incredible up here. It was just a beautiful hike for a half-day hike. And I really look forward to going up again for a full day, maybe an overnight hike up here. I know there's some waterfalls. I looked on Google Earth after the hike, actually, and I walked right by a waterfall that was just upstream one of the feeder creeks. It's kind of the dry season now, so the water's low anyway, so I don't know how the waterfall viewing or swimming would be right now, but here again, I'm trying to decide where I'm going to cross the creek or the river. It's actually a river, it's just low flow. If it was rain season, this whole thing would be filled in. It'd be nearly impossible to hike up there because you have to hike on the riverbank. And crossing would be much more treacherous. The river would be flowing much faster, it'd be much deeper. Some spots, it'd just be vertical walls on either side, so it'd be much more difficult. But my future plan is to come up here with my pack raft. If you don't know what that is, it's a inflatable raft with a breakdown paddle, and you carry it in a backpack. It weighs 5 to 10 pounds, then with all the other gear, you're looking at like 20, 30 pounds. But hike up several kilometers or miles up the river and then pack raft back down to the dam. So I found a good spot to cross. You can see how crystal clear the water is. All these cobblestones are, it's all volcanic igneous rocks and mafic rocks, felsic mafic rocks basically, which are igneous crystalline rocks, because this is in the Ring of Fire. It's a volcanic archipelago, the whole 7,000 islands of the Philippines. This island was known as the biggest island. See the nodules in the rock like here. Those are just big crystals, which makes sense because we are in the Philippines in the Ring of Fire, a volcanic archipelago. Found a little wind protected nook here for get a drink, a bite to eat, and keep on moving. I like this tree, so I stopped to check it out. Tree. Mahogany, maybe? Maybe it's mahogany, which is a popular wood here in the Philippines. They use it to make a lot of furniture and stuff. In fact, my bed here is made of mahogany, made by a local wood craftsman. As you can see, the cobblestone hiking was slow going. These rocks were loose, and you don't want to twist an ankle out here hiking by yourself in the middle of nowhere in the Philippines. It's not like the US where some search and rescue team is going to come out and looking for you. I know I'm not. At this point, I'm only maybe 3 or 4 miles from the trailhead, but still, if nobody knows you there, I didn't even really tell anybody where I was going. I told my fiance I was going hiking, but I actually told her I was going hiking up the other river in Salsana, but I decided at the last minute to head up to this one just because the other one I'll be living on in 6 months, so I figured I have plenty of opportunities to hike it, and I didn't know how many opportunities I would have to hike up this river, so I decided to go up this river. And I will write the name of the river in the comments if you want to know. I can't really pronounce it. It's a local word. Or I will just write it on the screen here somewhere. So if anybody wants to go, happens to be in the Philippines and you want to go hiking, there's also many opportunities along this hike to go swimming. As you can see, the water is crystal clear and the water's warm too. The swimming would be nice. I didn't wear the right clothes for swimming, and besides, it was kind of cool this day, believe it or not. The wind was so strong, which you wouldn't think in the Philippines. It was probably 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but with the wind, it felt a little cooler. beautiful view up here. I spotted a hunting slash fishing cabin on the other side of the river, and this is where the river started getting steeper. You could tell by the cobblestones getting so much bigger. As a geologist, I know that where the cobblestones are big, that means the river has much more energy, which indicates more gradient, So, I mean, if you ever go to a beach and, it's a beach that has big waves going in and out all the time, you'll notice that the cobblestones or the sand grains are bigger. That's because there's more energy on that beach. Just like in a river, if there's big cobblestones in an area, that's a high energy part of the river. If it's all sand, that's a low, slow part of the river, which high energy equals more gradient, steeper grade, and low energy equals less grade. So this is about as far up as I went. I was hiking for about 3 hours. And I decided, I had to go pick up my fiance. She was at her friend's house, and I had a certain time limit to hike, so I decided to turn around here and head back. Life I've had a passion for getting out and exploring. Even when I was a kid growing up in the city, I would go out on my bike and take 20-mile rides to the other side of Long Island where I grew up. Then when I got old enough to go to college, I went to Colorado. Never being there before, I went by myself. I bought a car for $900 and I drove out there. It was a great adventure of my life. I was just a kid. I had to pay for college myself, so I ended up having to drop out of college after 1 year because I couldn't afford it anymore. But even after I dropped out of college, I found a job as a ski instructor at Monarch Ski Area, and that opened up a whole new world to me of backcountry skiing, exploring the mountains in the winter, which translated into exploring the river canyons in the summer. And ever since then, I've always been amped to go try new places, go look at new rivers, look at new mountains. I mean, I love exploring cities around the world and stuff too, but
water comes straight out of the mountains. You could probably drink it, but I have water, so I don't need to, but if you had to, it's crystal clear.
My real passion is exploring nature and wildlife, and I'm always exasperated when I get to these new places and I'm thinking to myself, there's so much to see, so much to explore. How can I do it all? And I just do as much as I can, a little bit at a time. Like this area of Ilocos Norte, I've been in this area for 3 years now, and I've done a few hikes, a few kayak runs, but I'm getting to know the general area and where I am, like a picture of the whole area from space. I know what part of the mountains I'm in, and just this year I drove around the whole mountain range on the coast. It took about 12 hours, but it was awesome and a great trip.
cobra here. Very poisonous. Here in the river. I don't think they're native though. I'll look that up more. More research on that. Okay, we're going to the river again here. Get moving just a little bit.
This kind of hiking on the cobblestones is the kind of hiking that kind of hurts your feet after a while, stepping on those rocks all the time. You definitely want to wear the right kind of boots. This, I believe, was my second to last river crossing on the way back, but the wind was whipping like something awful. I was afraid it was going to knock me into the water, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but my phone and camera would get wet. About thigh deep there. And here we go, coming around the corner back to the dam. A nice afternoon hike. Glad you guys came with me. If you watch this, I'm planning on doing a lot more hikes in this area. If you want to follow my channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to help the channel out, there's my Buy Me a Coffee. There's my Buy Me a Coffee link down below. You could you know, buy me a coffee for $5 or get a membership, or you could get a membership to the channel. That's only if you want to help out monetarily, but the best thing you could do is subscribe, like, and share, and just come back and watch more videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you the next time. Walking Man Walks out.